we can now bring in our international affairs editor, Leela Jacinto. Leela, good to see you. You heard there from the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and another senior U.S. military official spoke alongside him. What were some of the main takeaways of that press conference?
Well, as you suggested, Delano, this was a battle of the narratives. So Pete Hegseth, as you said, spent a lot of time protesting about this leaked intelligence report, which suggested that, Iran's nuclear program is just set back by a few months. Trump himself has said that the U.S. strikes on Iran has decimated Iran's nuclear facilities. So actually, the defense secretary spent a lot of time castigating the U.S. media for providing fake news. And he insisted that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated, decimated. But he did not provide much details. It was left to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, to actually provide details of the U.S. strikes over the weekend on Iran's nuclear facility. And there was, as to be expected, a lot of nerd stuff, in the details that he provided. We had a video clip, a video footage of the U.S. bunker buster bombs. They're the GBU-57s attacking the Fordow nuclear facility, which is deep underground below a mountain. So we had video of that. And among the details that General Kane revealed, some of the interesting things that he did reveal was how much of work the U.S. military has put advanced work on studying this facility. He basically said, there is a department within the U.S. Defense Department. It's called DTRA. It's the Defense Threat Agency. And apparently they put an expert to watch this site since 2009. And this expert was joined by another. So it was a team of two who basically for 15 years has been monitoring this site ever since it was known. And to use the general's terms, they were dreaming about this site. They looked at geography, geology, weather, and based on what they were finding about this site, they worked on the bunker buster bomb. And they worked with industry to come up with this bunker buster bomb, which, experts never know when it's going to be used. But a threat assessment is to be ready for it. So I mean, implicit in what the general was saying was that this bomb was designed with the Fordow nuclear facility in mind in order to penetrate the ventilation shafts and hit the actual nuclear facilities. But what is critical is that these are military men, okay? They will tell you what happened. And when they were asked specifically, what about Iran's nuclear capacity? He literally said, we do not assess our homework. It is intelligence that assesses the homework. We are military men.
They operate,
We do what we have to do. And critical in all of this is, of course, is where is the 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, enriched to 60%. Now, Hegseth was asked about it, and he dodged that question. He said he hasn't seen any intelligence to show that the enriched uranium was moved from this Fordow nuclear site. President Trump has, after Hegseth spoke to the press, has come out and said that the uranium enrichment is in the Fordow site. So there's satellite images that showed there were vehicles around that site a few days before the U.S. nuclear strikes. And Iran, of course, has said that they knew strikes were coming and they have moved it to a safe location. Nobody can assert in this. And Trump has said that what those vehicles were doing, they were just pouring concrete over the shafts, which is something that General Kane also talked about. But it must be said, Delano, that European capitals, and this is coming from a recent report that came out, a few hours ago by the Financial Times, saying that European capitals believe that the enriched uranium was not at the Fordow site and that Iran could possibly, based on initial intelligence assessments, that this uranium enrichment may be somewhere else in a safe location.
So it's a battle on narratives on all fronts, clearly. And now EU leaders, Leela, stay with us, are meeting in Brussels. The gathering comes as tensions in the Middle East appear to calm down, and following that NATO summit, which took place yesterday, where Ukraine was placed on the back burner. This Thursday, heads of state are weighing in on whether to reach a quick trade deal with the United States or keep fighting for a mutually beneficial agreement. Donald Trump has threatened to ramp up tariffs on the 9th of July if no trade deal is struck. Leela, let me bring you in once again because EU leaders are in Brussels for this summit. Many things on the agenda. What is the EU's position on the latest US strikes on Iran?
I mean, what is remarkable is how much Europe has been sidelined in the developments between Israel, the US, and Iran. Now, don't forget, I mean, the three top European powers, France, the UK, and Germany, were signatories. They're participants to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which the JCPOA, exactly, the acronym, which Trump, of course, got out of in 2018. Now, prior to Israel launching its strike on Iran, Trump, of course, opened largely indirect talks with Iran in Oman, but Europe was not part of this. So Europe is really on the sidelines. Now, the EU position, there's one critic who said Europe is trying to please everyone and pleasing no one. So Europe's position is, one, Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, and two, urging all parties to return to talks. And Trump himself has said that Trump is open to talks with Iran and has talked very loosely, without giving any details, of opening talks with Iran next week.
Yeah.
Now, the Iranian foreign minister was asked about it today, and he did not say whether Iran would attend these talks or not. Now, Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi actually last week had talks with the foreign ministers of France, Germany.
In Geneva.
Exactly.
On Friday, yeah.
In Geneva. And nothing much came out of that. At that stage, Iran was saying, unless Israel stops its attacks, we will continue. But today, Iran, we've seen an official hardening of positions. Iran's supreme leader had his first address since the U.S. strike. He sounded characteristically defiant, like it was the 1990s. So, Iran, it's in Iran's interest to actually go back to talks. The problem is, how do they save face, and what are the terms of the talks? And on that, there has been no details whatsoever. Trump just seems to think that the ceasefire will hold, but going back to renegotiating, that's going to involve a lot of expertise, and that's where all the devil of the detail lies.
Yeah, and he's tasked somebody who's not a diplomat to lead these talks, Steve Witkoff, of course. So we'll see what comes out of that. Thank you very much for that, Leela Jacinto there.